Hello and welcome back to another DF Direct. This time, kind of live from Gamescom, but kind of not really. So obviously I'm joined by Alex, my partner in crime for the show.
Yeah, all the way over here in Cologne, Germany.
Cologne, yeah.
Cologne. And covering all the games that we've seen here today, a variety of them, kind of ones that don't deserve a video for themselves, either because we don't have enough direct feed footage for that.
That's usually the
that's
case.
The
main thing, actually.
And also because there's not enough technical details necessarily to discuss for a full-form video.
So,
but we've still seen a lot of stuff while we're here.
Let me run down some of the list real quick so you know what you're in store for today. Because we're just gonna get right to this because this is Gamescom day. We've had some beers. We're cool. Everything's looking good.
Everything's looking great.
We've had some Kirsch.
Yeah, some good old Kirsch.
So today we're going to talk about the new version of The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening on Switch. I checked it out at E3. It had issues. How's it looking now? We're going to check out the Switch Lite a little bit. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a light look at it because our impressions were also relatively light. We're going to talk about Spyro, reignited trilogy on Switch, which we get to check out.
That was good.
The Dragon Quest XI demo, which as we learned after the show, was also released. But we can at least share our thoughts on it, and a few more things, including mentioning the retro area, a couple Xbox related things, and more. So let's get into it. I want to start actually before we get to the games. Briefly, I want to touch on the Switch Lite.
Yeah.
So at the show, it was behind it was sort of in a glass case, if you will.
A vitrine.
Yeah. So they had 3 units set up, 3 different colors.
Yeah. With
different games running on them.
And the one thing that I actually noticed most, like I don't actually cover Switch games that often.
No, you don't.
But I've mainly through looking at John's Switch units, usually the screen looked pretty good, actually. I like the
It's difficult to say. I mean, there's a lot of glare on the current Switch.
Yeah.
But this is in a special environment. For me, though, it's more the form factor.
Okay.
It was smaller, as you'd expect, but it was it's a good size. So the Switch right now for me as a portable system is good, but I feel like you can't really take it out without a case.
Yeah.
Like the Joy-Con on the side feels somewhat fragile. This is a more all-in-one unit, and actually seeing it in person with those slightly odd colors, I think it actually looks really good. So
it did look pretty great.
I'm kind of impressed, and I'm very curious to check it out when when it's available.
Yeah, and also those glory shots we kind of got of it. I think it looks actually really good as a system.
I agree. So again, that's just brief first impressions. My first time seeing the unit. Now I want one, probably because I'm weird and like to collect lots of hardware.
And I'll just be sticking to my PC.
You'll just be doing PC stuff. So the first game then to talk about, which we both saw, I played this today, was The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Yeah. And unlike the E3 demo, I actually made good progress this time and had more time, so I played into the first dungeon.
Yeah, you did it really quickly,
which was great.
Actually.
So we got to see a little more of the game than last time.
Yeah, and the problem the last time was basically as soon as you left any of the confines of any of the houses in the game or the smaller environments and you got outside to the more overworld setting in like the town and such, it would drop. The game is a double buffered VSync setup where if it's not hitting the required frame time to get 60, it drops below to 30. And it was all the way, basically.
And I showed this, I did a video back in E3 that showed all this, and the frame rate was not good.
Yeah, it
really was not good.
It was not good, and it's not what you'd expect of a game
so,
like that.
For this one, we only have filmed footage because they didn't have the facilities for capture, unfortunately, because all the Switches were like in a box. But we did get to film it, as you're seeing here.
Yeah.
And so there are still drops.
There are still drops, and it seems to happen in the
strange
moments where it seems like when you just transition a screen over, like it's maybe streaming in new things, so maybe a CPU or like a memory bandwidth related issue, storage issue, or in the weird moment when a text box or like when Link would hold up something that he got from a chest up into the air, and it would drop to 30 for that 1 second.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
And this is the key thing. The frame rate is not perfect, but it's so much better than the E3 build. Like, night and day difference. It was mostly 60 frames per second this time. And
then, there's a couple other technical things to mention. Like, the one that obviously I come from the PC space, but I'm really curious about what engine this is running on. There's like some hallmarks in there in terms of its visuals where, and given some previous things that we've recently seen from Nintendo, I do wonder if it's running middleware like something like your Unreal Engine 4 or something like that. That's the one thing we're kind of wondering
we're not
what
sure
it is.
about yet,
right
but
now.
it does have some of those hallmarks.
Yeah, and like kind of the way like the SSAO, the screen space ambient occlusion, flickers when you move the camera, because it's like the Switch obviously can't run that at super high resolution. There's like a number of little things here and there that make me wonder what we're actually seeing behind there. But the one thing I definitely did notice was the dramatically better performance in comparison to that E3.
And that's key, because I was worried about this. I think everybody was.
We talked to other people there who were still a little worried also.
So we're at this point though where the difference between the E3 and Gamescom build is so dramatic
that you can only imagine.
We can only imagine and hope that by the time they actually hit the retail release, which is fairly soon, but demos are usually produced fairly, in advance. So this is probably still quite an old build, but it's so much better. Like if it launched like this, I would still enjoy the game a lot and be mostly happy, except for those few weird little dips. But overall, it's a lot
an improvement,
better. And because I get to go into the dungeon, I actually get to see how they handled the tiles there. First of all, there's actually like proper scrolling and everything in this dungeon as well, like the overworld. Because remember in Game Boy it was screen by screen progression. Well, it scrolled between them. That's how original Zelda worked on the NES, so it kind of made sense. But we also got to see the little 2D side-scrolling sections. Remember those?
Yeah.
So
those ran at 60 no matter what, of course.
Mostly. So this is what's weird, and this is what was making me wonder about performance. First time I go down, perfect. Second time I go down, it was dropping, but then you just wait and it clears up. So it seems like some of the slowdown issues like eliminate themselves. So it's not that there's too much on screen or there's like a bottleneck there. There's something else happening in the background.
Yeah,
which is why I do feel like this could be solved.
Oh.
Like something wasn't quite right.
Yeah, maybe there's just some sort of kinks that they need to get out before, like background stuff that has nothing to do with the graphical presentation itself. Just kind of the way they're organizing data.
Okay, so let's move on then.
Yeah.
So the next thing. We will probably talk more in depth about this in the future, so we'll keep it brief. But Dragon Quest XI, yes, there's a demo out now. No, I don't have direct feed capture from that yet. Actually, maybe by the time I do this video, I might.
Yeah, you may actually.
But either way, so these are the impressions based on what I saw on the show floor at the moment. And you were actually closer to the screen, because I played Zelda. I had you play DQ11.
Yeah.
You didn't really know your way around the game. That's okay.
No, I mean, I just don't play a lot of this style of game before these kind of... what is it? This is actually a remake of the, like...
No.
I thought it, because the 2D, they have the 2D version of the game and then something else?
I'll explain that.
Okay.
So...
That's a little confusing.
We're going to teach Alex a little bit about the DQ11. So Dragon Quest XI was released on PlayStation 4 first. And PC, as well as 3DS.
Oh, okay.
And the 3DS version, what they did, it did actually have both a 2D and a 3D mode in it. Like one would be on the top screen, one would be on the bottom screen.
Oh, that's what that was?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't understand that.
Right?
Oh, my goodness.
It was a totally weird thing. It was not in the PS4 version.
Okay.
PS4 version was Unreal Engine 4, all
that's
3D, which is what this is.
That was the one that used the weird reconstruction, right? Yeah. Okay.
And yet, on the 3DS, obviously, you're not getting Unreal Engine 4 on there, so it was a different game, basically. So what they've done is they've sort of, maybe I even need to check the details on this, but it seems like they've taken the 2D design elements from the 3DS version and made it as an optional thing.
Ah, okay.
Which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
So that is available.
That is cool. Yeah.
But for the 3D stuff we saw, it looked surprisingly pretty much like the PS4 version at a glance.
At a glance.
Except for...
kind of felt like the resolution was really low.
Which is exactly what we predicted.
Yeah, it's a UE4 game. They don't tend to be the highest of resolution games on Switch. Like if you go all the way back to Snake Pass, that was definitely not known for its high resolution graphics. But
we're not talking ARC level here, which was like 192p.
No. This looks way higher res than that. One thing that they didn't use is obviously UE4 as a standard feature has temporal anti-aliasing. And they seemed to forego on that. It looked like there was some edge treatment.
This was the same as the PS4 version.
Yeah.
And it also has the same sort of ghosting artifacts you see in the grass, but here the grass even seemed to update at half rate.
Yeah, that was the one thing, like in the main menu, you can see that here. Like, it looked weirdly ghosty and half ratey. I don't know why that was, actually.
But still,
it's
promising. It runs smoothly.
Yeah, it had SSAO, had, not the best texture filtering, but the textures looked okay. I mean, it's a kind of a cartoony looking game.
I mean, the key is, and you've never seen it obviously, but the key is that it looks like pretty much the PS4 version,
Yeah,
but with lower image quality.
Yeah,
And that's good.
And obviously targeting 30 FPS here,
Just like the other consoles.
And okay, wow, okay. And it seemed to be hitting it like a good majority of the time as well. I didn't realize that was 30.
So how do you feel about Dragon Quest 11 now, Alex? I played it like 2 years ago.
I mean, I
liked it a lot.
I found that I liked the character design a lot, and the slimes are, so cute looking. I felt really bad killing them. That's what I basically felt while playing the demo. But I would actually, it's a game I would definitely try out.
It is on the PC?
It is on PC, and probably uncapped frame rate there. Really good. Good stuff.
All right, next one, very brief talking about it. I looked at this before, the Spyro reignited trilogy.
Yeah.
So I had almost forgotten that this didn't release on the Switch at the same time as the other platforms.
Yeah, it was like the one that was coming after the fact. And when we walked in, the first thing I noticed about it is it's one of the rare games that actually has UE. This is not UE4. Sorry, this is where it has like a really modern looking feature set still on the Switch. Like it kept all the per object blur.
It's all
like
there.
The SSAO, like the pretty good looking shadow maps actually, I thought, for the Switch, like in terms of the resolution. And it was updating pretty well at 30 FPS. It was a little hard to see the actual resolution of it because it has such a thick temporal anti-aliasing.
Yeah, exactly. Plus all the motion blur.
Plus all the motion blur. It was like, and the person, we didn't have actually a good amount of time to get a direct look at it.
I just played it briefly. I got somebody else playing as well.
Someone else playing it for us at that moment. And it just looks generally, from my recollection, obviously, and when you do the back and forth between the next gen, the Xbox or PlayStation 4 versions, it's going to look lower res, but it kept the exact same beats from that version in terms of the things that made the visuals what they were, which are like this good looking motion blur and the dynamic lighting and the shadow maps. And
that's right.
That's basically what it was. It looked like Spyro Trilogy reignited. So
yeah, I mean, the Spyro is actually shaping up to look pretty solid on the Switch.
It looks pretty solid. So, there were some small dips here and there that I wonder if they'll be ironed out for the final version. I did notice those, like some hitches.
Unfortunately, I would imagine. Now, actually, I don't want to say. I don't know how large the file size is because if you remember when this shipped on PS4 and Xbox One, it shipped on a disc that was incomplete.
I don't remember that.
It was you had to download the rest of the games.
And if it's for Switch,
and a Switch, obviously this is not going to be completely on the cart. Is my guess.
Yeah.
So, but how big will it be? Because space is a premium on the Switch in a way that it's not really on the other systems, not in the same way. So,
do you think as for that reason, do you think they'd compromise some of like the things like music,
audio quality? I don't know. We couldn't really hear it.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
So the next game we checked out at Nintendo, and the last one for Nintendo actually,
and
one of the best looking ones.
Yeah, it was the best. I think it was actually the best looking game that we saw.
Touryst.
The Touryst, as it was spelled with a Y, and I'm always curious why. But this little cute, like in terms of design, it has this tilt-shifted look, like a very small macroscopic lens at what looks like a tiny world of you're playing this kind of young mustachioed person walking around like
with hair flopping.
Yeah, with his hair flopping around like a beach setting, and you're kind of discovering it in a like 3D platforming style of way, solving puzzles. But the thing that immediately caught my mind was the 60 FPS update rate on it, which was not a single drop in the entire demo. And just looking really good while doing it too.
Which is a hallmark of Shin'en.
Yeah.
So this was developed by Shin'en in München here in Germany. And these guys are known for pushing Nintendo hardware in some interesting ways. So they did Fast RMX at the launch of Switch. But they've done a lot of other games before that, including just some of the most amazing Game Boy Advance titles with the Iridian games, which, by the way, the soundtrack on those, chef's kiss. So, this is really different from a typical Shin'en game. They typically focus on arcade action, racing, shooting, some platforming, lots of different things. This is more of an adventure-y looking game. The setup for the demo was like, you start on this little island, kind of exploring some houses. You kind of find these little emblems then, which then you start to figure out where you can go, and like you know, eventually we get to the top of this tower here, and there was a pattern over in the other field that sort of like it was in the same pattern as well. Basically, you follow that with using the blocks on top of the little spire.
Yes.
And then that actually then opens up a door, or like the whole floor collapses and you fall down into this cave.
With this weird sentinel creature staring at you, casting like real-time, you know, dynamic lighting with like shadows underneath your character, and you have to solve a puzzle by utilizing its light.
And the whole thing sort of moves and tracks the player, and you're using that, and then, you know, it seems to be very like it's action puzzle kind of adventure driven. So I mean, obviously we can't help but say, oh yeah, that kind of reminds us of like a Zelda thing. But this is not. No, this is a different game.
And we also got a little bit of word on how it functions. I mean, it's running at a 60 FPS update, obviously, and adhering it to it.
Yes.
The entire time.
And it uses dynamic resolution.
Dynamic resolution currently, and the way the world looks as it is, like we've seen games in the past that use voxels, but this game doesn't actually use them for the rendering side of it. Rather, they build the entire world in a software suite or like little engine test thing called Magica Voxel, which allows you to render an entire world as voxels, and even the lighting as voxels as well too. And they export that, and it is converted into a mesh, like a polygon mesh, and that is what gives the world this pretty much perfect voxel look while also rendering as polygons.
Exactly. And yeah, so you can make some neat things with Magical Voxel.
Yeah, I've seen so many really cool things on Twitter.
Amazing artwork people have done with it. And it was a really clever idea to sort of use this as the base.
Yeah.
So instead of like using like Maya as your initial starting point or something, you're kind of starting with this instead and just building little voxel models.
And the thing is, it also keeps everything perfectly to scale.
Yes.
That's like, because voxels will have like a grid unit size, and it'll keep everything within this grid unit size.
And effectively, think about it as 3D pixel art.
Yeah.
That's what this is, basically.
That's what it looked like.
And functionally, this is what this is.
And because of its slick update rate, which was adhering to it perfectly, it just looked like the most impressive thing we saw there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, so we'll definitely be checking out more of that soon enough, because, it looks amazing.
It looks
but
great.
Two more things that we checked out at the Xbox booth. So briefly, saw Battletoads again. This time we got actual capture. So running at 4K still, using sort of the animated sprites. So the action still feels a little bit flat to me.
Yeah,
it's
I don't know what it's missing.
Basically, like the pace is a little off. Like in the original Battletoads, you're running. They didn't throw a lot of enemies at it. So you maybe like per screen, like okay, you scroll the screen, you attack a couple enemies, keep scrolling. There's some platforming. It mixes things up a lot pretty quickly. Where this was like, here's a long section where it scrolls, pauses, enemies just spawn. You slowly dispatch all of them. Next screen, pauses, does the same.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it feels bad though. Like it is fun and it does play well, but it doesn't really feel exactly like what you'd expect from an evolution in Battletoads.
Yeah.
On the other hand though, they did the jet bike sequence.
Which looked better. I mean, not visually necessarily. There was two jet bike sequences we saw.
Yeah.
There was the one that was inside a pipe, and then there was one also inside like a cityscape.
It's technically the same sequence.
Oh, we just saw the later part of it, yeah.
It evolves.
But this, like, when it was just like an unlit pipe, it looked really not that great. But like the city sequence where you could see like the
flat billboard
flat billboard buildings kind of moving by you in like a fake 3D way, that looked really good actually. I even said wow out loud when I saw that.
That part I played that. That actually does. It's quite fun. They're still tweaking it though to ensure like visibility and all that. So it is a little bit tricky still, but. I mean, that's the point of the bike section. So that was the part I liked the most. And that was easy. It was easy to fail and retry and sort of try to improve.
Yeah, down a lot,
I wish I had capture of my session with the game, but for this one, I put the drive in where some other folks were playing first and got their capture. So
a lot of deaths here.
Yeah. So it has potential, but it still has some problems. And the demo we saw was not that different from the E3 demo anyway. So, but there's another game we should quickly talk about. And this one's all you, Alex.
Yeah, this is going to be me. The Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. I have a long history with the Age of Empires series of games. And the thing is, like any game from this series of like when the way PC hardware was at the time, the way Windows was set up, the way like color and resolution were handled in Windows was different. It doesn't scale to modern PCs and modern resolutions and modern aspect ratios. And there could be game speed issues and things like that.
And fundamentally, it's a 2D game.
And I mean, it only needs the certain, perspective to function correctly. This definitive edition, when I played it up originally, I actually thought I was originally looking at 3D models because of just, we were playing on a 4K monitor that was huge, 4K, right in front of us, and it still looked pixel perfect up to that. So then someone came by, a developer who worked on the game. I was like, so what are we looking at here rendering wise? He's like, no, everything's still 2D. We made 3D models too, and we rendered them out at a ridiculously high resolution.
Even to the point where like the shadows the units, those are baked. It's part of the sprite.
They're part of the sprite of the unit. The shadows, I originally thought like the shadows were like being rasterized as like a shadow map pass or something.
But no.
Nope, it's all 2D, just ultimately really well arted, and it just looked really smooth. They kept a lot of the old school stuff. Like I think there's probably like, I don't know how many rotations for each unit, probably like 6 or something like that. So it still has an old school look to it when units turn, but the individual models or these individual sprites for the units themselves look so good. And I immediately went into it all, setting up my hot groups and things like that to make sure I was, collecting everything. And it just played like Age of Empires 2, but with the addition of being able to zoom in onto the battlefield and zoom out, something that is desperately needed in a game like that, where they obviously with these large population caps you can get so many units on the field, and it just played and looked really well. And I think a detailed description of, or like in a video form when it does come out, about how it looks different, what it does differently than the original game is something that I would like to do. And I know
I have to admit, I've only played Age of Empires 1 many years ago. This actually looked really appealing.
2 is the one for me where it's a little bit more zany because of the time period it takes place in. Like kind of this like Middle Ages stuff for a lot of things, and there's so many really fun things that happen. I did ask one thing, was whether or not the cheats were still in from the original game, and I got like a wink wink nod nod kind of thing.
That's good.
So that should be fun to check out.
So yeah, that's cool. I mean, and then we saw some other things that we'll do videos on, of course.
We'll be talking about those later.
At some point. But of course, I really enjoyed hitting up the retro area as always.
Yeah, that was fun.
Some awesome stuff there.
Consoles I didn't know existed.
I think it was Console Variations. This collector, last year they did sort of the GameCube display. This year they had like a display of all the N64 controllers. So yeah, I mean, all those cool to see them with the boxes and the packaging and the different variations.
Some of them Console Variations. Yeah, some of those, look like they're still mint condition boxes as well too, which is always really interesting.
And then I love they have since I've been into retro PCs lately, they've had some retro PCs set up from different eras, complete with the CRT monitors. So you got to experience what I saw this past weekend as well, where looking at an old CRT, like even with like 640 by 40 res,
the text is the one thing that interests me the most. Like the file, like I'm so used to seeing low res stuff and seeing like that horrible bilinear or worse filtering, kind of like blowing it up and making it look ugly. But on a CRT like that, and the way the pixels are rendered, and it just looked really sharp, even though it's low res.
There's no fixed resolution on a CRT really, so that's the benefit. And then there's a lot of other stuff there. There's these cool arcade machines from there's this one group from the Moonstar area that they have like a sort of a retro game club up there. They actually brought a bunch of arcade machines down to Köln to show us at Gamescom, and it was really cool to see that. And actually, honestly, what was great is like the retro area this year was like 2 to 3 times larger than it's ever been.
It's
There's
massive.
like so much there.
And seeing just kind of games. What was the name of that handheld console from Japan that had like a 168 by 168 resolution?
Or whatever.
Supervision. I've never even heard of this thing.
I knew this.
Came out in like 1992.
It even has two versions. It was kind of a Game Boy competitor, sort of.
There's a lot of really rare kind of stuff there too that I didn't even know existed, and that's the kind of fun thing. And also, as anything like that, the community is the big thing that drives retro gaming, and everyone being so friendly and wanting to show us things. Actually,
that was the best part. Like, we're mostly doing the show, and then we get to the retro area, and I swear, we like every time we walk like a few feet, it's like somebody stops us. Oh my god, it's you guys, and we chat for a while.
It's you, John.
But. That's really nice. Like, you guys are awesome, and like I love the passion of the retro community, and that's one of the things I like about it so much. And so that's
niche community.
It's really awesome.
So enjoyed it.
Go to the retro area. Well, this is probably going up after Gamescom. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Gamescom might still be happening, so if you're in the area, you should go. Check it out.
Check it out. And if not, go next year to the retro area. It'll probably be bigger and better and even more friendly.
And we'll probably be there too.
And we'll be there too.
So, but I think that's going to do it for now. So thanks for joining me, Alex.
As always, John, it is a pleasure.
Wonderful. And if you enjoyed this video, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, which is here. And of course, follow us over on Twitter.
Yeah.
And until next time, stay retro and signing off. And all that.
And all that.